Seven, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of CBD Talk Podcast. And tonight we have a three-time guest now. I don't think we've ever had anyone on this many times. Our favorite David A. Dawson. So how are you doing tonight, David?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for allowing me to come 3 times. I'm looking for that 5-time jacket.
Okay, I'll do some Saturday Night Live research and see how that happens. See if I can get Steve Martin to give it to you and all that. But so one of the reasons that we have David on tonight is a Facebook post that he posted earlier this week, and that Facebook post read, "Micro deletion in a Fa pseudogene identified in a patient with high anandamide concentrations and pain insensitivity." And my response was, so in other words, cannabinoids are good? And can you translate the above into non-scientific speak for those of us who aren't fluent in science? To which he completely ignored my response. So I had to get him on the podcast to get him to explain it. So here we are, and I'm sure we'll talk about some other things as well. But you guys already know David. This is his third time, so I don't have to go into a whole bunch about him. He's brilliant, and just listen to him and learn. So, okay, can you please explain what that study was?
Yeah, that study had to do with a lady that it's kind of interesting. She doesn't produce an enzyme. I'm sorry, she doesn't produce an enzyme called FAAH, F-A-A-H. And what FAAH does is it breaks down or degrades cannabinoids.
Mm-hmm.
And so what it is not doing since she doesn't produce it is it's not breaking down anandamide.
Mm-hmm.
And anandamide is a molecule that is a pain relieving molecule. And so what she's done, what's happening since it's not being broken down, and anandamide is not being broken down,
Mm-hmm.
is that she's producing it, so much of it is that she doesn't feel pain.
That's a beautiful thing.
Well, it can be problematic
Oh.
because if you put your hand on a hot radiator,
Mm-hmm.
you don't know. I mean, pain is a defense mechanism.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
so, you can really do some damage not being able to tell when you've
broken a bone.
when
Yeah.
you're damaging your body.
That's true. So now, how does...
what's going on is she's become what I refer to as endocannabinoid endowed. and I tell women I'm endocannabinoid endowed, but it doesn't seem to impress them.
Little do they know.
And so anyway, she produces a lot of this molecule that basically is a pain relieving molecule, and the doctors didn't understand what was going on as to why she had this major surgery,
Mm-hmm.
why she didn't need painkillers after this major surgery.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And so they're like, okay, what's going on? So they did some studies, discovered that she didn't produce FAAH, FAAH. Okay, she didn't produce it, which led them back to the endocannabinoid system.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting that, of course, this was a beautiful thing that it happened in England, because so many doctors in the United States don't even know that the endocannabinoid system even exists.
Exactly. I have a question really quick.
Okay, sure.
So you're saying that the FAAH, she doesn't have to produce the FAAH, so it doesn't break down the anandamide.
Right.
Now, tell people so anandamide is an endocannabinoid. Is there a phytocannabinoid that is the same, or how's that work?
Yeah, the phytocannabinoid equivalent to anandamide is THC.
Got it. Okay.
That's been demonstrated pretty conclusively for quite some time now. Dr. Raphael Mechoulam is the one that figured that out.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And actually, the United States government has confirmed it.
Oh, nice.
Which is an amazing thing, that the United States has come around to the idea that these endocannabinoids and phytocannabinoids have these equivalencies.
And
And of
again,
course, you know,
what is the endocannabinoid equivalent to CBD?
CBD is 2-AG.
2-AG and anandamide is THC. Got it. Okay.
And then verotamine, well, I'm sorry, and then THCV, which is kind of the mirror image of THC. It's, rather than giving you the munchies, it actually inhibits appetite. It's something that I'm doing some research on right now. And the phytocannabinoid equivalent to that is verotamine.
Got it. Okay. So I just wanted to make sure people understood that.
It seems as if so many of these endocannabinoids have phytocannabinoid equivalents that if your body doesn't produce enough of a particular endocannabinoid, you can supplement with the appropriate phytocannabinoid.
Perfect.
And so this is kind of what I do is that's how I determine, okay, if you've got this particular ailment, I can say, okay, you know, as a biomolecular psychologist, I can say, okay, you've got this ailment. We know that ailment is a result of an endocannabinoid deficiency. What we can do is we can supplement with the equivalent phytocannabinoid.
Yeah.
Okay, and that works for like PTSD. Interestingly enough, it also works for postpartum depression.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and that's a huge issue.
And that's anandamide or
No, and actually for postpartum depression, it's a number of different endocannabinoids. It's pretty much any endocannabinoid that we test for.
Oh, okay.
We find people with, hi, buddy. I'm sorry, that's my cat.
Yay! What's your cat's name again? I can't remember.
Kato.
Kato.
Yeah. There she is.
Hi! Hey, baby. That's all right. Keep going.
So, yeah, but so basically for like postpartum depression and for the most part PTSD, every phytocannabinoid that we have the ability to, or every endocannabinoid that we have the ability to test for shows deficiency.
Got it.
And so basically what you need for that is a full spectrum.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah.
CBD, and so that's kind of what we do. That's
So
what I do as a biomolecular psychologist.
as a brainiac, yeah.
Right. I don't know.
So okay, so that was such an amazing study to me because that they were able to track down, get all the way down to like what specifically it was. That was how new is that? How long have they been able to do that?
It's quite new. It's quite a recent discovery, and it was one of those serendipitous things that just come about in science.
That's amazing.
This lady just happened to need this surgery, and then when she had the surgery, she didn't need any painkillers. You're like, why doesn't she need any painkillers? So they did some laboratory tests and said, oh, well, she's not producing a FA. So, and they were smart enough to realize that since she's not producing FA, then the anandamide is at an elevated level. And so she's not feeling pain.
Wow. That's just amazing to me.
Oh, it's
exciting.
It is exciting, and I'm just so, and the beautiful thing is it's so nice to see it because it confirms what the endocannabinoid researchers have been talking about for the past 2 decades.
Yeah.
For 20 years. I mean, we've known this. It's just we haven't been allowed to really discuss it, and we haven't been allowed to study it because we haven't been allowed until the passage of the Farm Act.
Right.
We couldn't study the phytocannabinoids. Now we can study the endocannabinoids, and that's what I've been doing, for the past 9.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what set me apart in this whole thing is because I said, well, okay, we can't study the phytocannabinoids, fine. No, it's no big deal because I can study the same molecule.
Yeah.
By extracting them from the vertebrate body. Okay, and so that's the beautiful thing is well, we couldn't study the phytocannabinoids, we could study the equivalents.
Yeah.
And that's what made it interesting to me, because I got to do what I wanted to do, which was science.
Yeah.
You know?
So speaking of doing what you want to do, can you tell us a little bit about what you are doing, like with the THCV and
Yeah,
some
right
things?
now I'm looking at degradation rates, and I'll tell you what that means. Now, to do that, I'm going to have to provide some terminology for you.
Okay, good.
We're going to start with cannabinoids. Okay, there are 3 different types of cannabinoids, and we've kind of gotten into that a little bit so far. There are endocannabinoids, phytocannabinoids, and synthetic cannabinoids. Okay, and that's it.
What?
Okay.
So a synthetic cannabinoid would be
Synthetic
what?
cannabinoids are cannabinoids that are produced artificially in a lab.
Oh, okay.
Okay, endocannabinoids. Endo means from within. They're the cannabinoids that the human body produces naturally, or the vertebrate body produces naturally. Okay, phytocannabinoids. Phyto means flower. They're the cannabinoids that come from the cannabis plant.
Okay.
All right, so those are the 3 types of cannabinoids. Now, the way the dominant paradigm has been since 1971, for the past half century. The dominant paradigm has been that the phytocannabinoids and the synthetic cannabinoids are the exact same thing. At least that's. I mean, it's kind of duplicitous in their saying. They're saying that in that they said, okay, well, cannabinoid researchers, you can't study the phytocannabinoids, but you can study synthetic cannabinoids. You can create your own cannabinoids, kind of as a mirror, although it doesn't really work out to be a mirror, because if they create in the laboratory the same molecules, the same structure of molecules as the phytocannabinoids, then they were illegal.
Oh.
And so they would say, okay, well, you've got to alter it a little bit, legal, otherwise you're breaking the law. Okay, so what they've done now is they've made it so that you've got the synthetic cannabinoids that are now legal because they're slightly different from the
Phytos.
phytos, yeah, from the phytocannabinoids, and so they're slightly different, so they're legal. Okay, the problem is the synthetic cannabinoids don't break down as fast, because what they've done, like with rimonabant, which we discussed in another program, that rimonabant and THCV are equivalent molecules. They're equivalents. You know how I talked about endocannabinoid, phytocannabinoid equivalents? Well, there are phytocannabinoid and synthetic cannabinoid equivalents. Okay, so what you've got is THCV is an antagonist at the CB1 receptor. What it does is that it regulates blood sugar levels. It reduces the body's resistance to insulin, and it's an appetite suppressant. Okay, so rather than giving you the munchies the way THC does, THCV inhibits appetite.
Nice.
And the the synthetic cannabinoid equivalent to that phytocannabinoid, to THCV, is rimonabant.
Okay.
And rimonabant was invented back in the God, I keep thinking 1986. Yeah, in the 80s. Well, it could have been. It could have.
It doesn't matter. We're good.
Yeah. So anyway, it was invented or synthesized back like 10, 20 years ago, and it was designed to be a treatment for diabetes and obesity and that sort of thing, because it inhibited appetite, it regulated blood sugar levels, and it reduced the body's resistance to insulin. and it helped with the body process fat.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically what Ramonabant did was it worked.
Mm-hmm.
Worked for obesity and all these other problems that overweight people have,
Mm-hmm.
diabetes and that sort of thing. So what took place was, while it worked, what happened was it also produced adverse psychological effects.
Is that because it was synthetic?
Yes, that's because it's synthetic. What happens is it binds to that CB1 receptor so hard,
Oh.
so tightly that it's on there. It's like stuck on there. It's bound
Yeah.
to that receptor. And what happens when something binds to the receptor, the cell sends out an enzyme. It sends out Fa
Oh,
to go out and degrade that molecule to get it out of there, so that it'll open up that receptor to receive another molecule.
Okay.
Okay. Now the problem is, for the receptor, for that enzyme for FAH, when it goes out, if it encounters an organic molecule like
THCV.
B, it's easy to break down because it's organic. It's easy to eat, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but if it goes out and it encounters a synthetic molecule, it's like eating plastic fruit.
Oh, yeah.
And it takes a long time to break that down. And because it's clogged up that receptor, it doesn't allow for anandamide to get in. The anandamide, in addition to being a powerful pain-killing molecule, it also is the body's natural antidepressant molecule.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so that's what happens, and if you look at the structure of Ramonabant, you'll find that while it's similar in appearance to
THCV.
THCV, it's similar to appearance, but it has to be made slightly differently to be legal.
Right, which is absurd. Yeah.
And so what they did is they said, well, we'll throw some chlorine into it. And
Yeah, well, it works in a pool.
But it ends up being really, really difficult to degrade.
Yeah. I don't think I'd want chlorine in my brain.
Okay, so that's kind of what's taking place. And what I'm looking at is because what I have to do now, if I'm going to come out with a formulation that says, okay, we're going to treat diabetes, we're going to treat obesity, we're going to have a weight a weight loss formula, an appetite suppressant. What I have to do is I have to demonstrate that the formula that I'm going to come out with, it doesn't produce the depressive side effects.
Yeah.
Of that Ramonabant did.
Yeah, so that fog can get in there and
so that fog can get in there and break it down so that it can allow for anandamide to get in and be the antidepressant. Okay.
Amazing.
So basically what my study is, which will be taking place hopefully, well, I expect sometime in May we'll get the study completed. And I'll release the the publication, the results of the study, and basically what I'm going to do is compare degradation rates of the three cannabinoids, THCV, Ramonabant, and verotomy.
Right, yeah. I always forget that one.
Right, and so that will provide data that demonstrates that a synthetic cannabinoid and an organic cannabinoid are different, and that pretty much will alter a paradigm.
Yeah.
That we've been operating under for the past 5 decades.
That's
just
great.
Because of the way the law has come about and said, okay, phytocannabinoids, those are evil.
Yeah.
Synthetic cannabinoids, those are good.
Pharmaceutical companies, yay!
Right, right. And so that's what we're doing at
That's
this.
beautiful.
Um,
That's so
that
exciting.
my company is or, what we're doing, as a research company.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing.
God, I love science. It is so amazing. What are
Well,
some?
yeah, this area of cannabinoid research is just so incredible, and now, and at this point, we get to actually do some of these studies because the Farm Act has allowed
Hmm.
molecules to be transported across state lines in the form of hemp.
Yeah.
Um, and that's the beautiful thing that has occurred, just recently.
Yeah. Just months ago.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And that allows for research that wasn't allowed to be done. I mean,
Hmm.
you still have to get past IRB boards and internal review boards and stuff.
Hmm.
And that little bit of bureaucracy, but that's secondary to saying, an IRB wouldn't even consider a study like this before because you couldn't do anything with the phytocannabinoid molecules because
Yeah.
those were the illegal ones.
Right. Exactly. So, what other new studies or findings have you seen in the last, just since beginning of the year, maybe last 4 months?
Um, in the last 4 months, let's see. I guess the main thing is I've been doing in the last 4 months is making comparisons. Well, I've been looking at mainly I've been looking at other antagonists.
Can you
In,
explain what an antagonist is and what it
yeah,
does?
yeah, okay. Yeah, there are molecules. Well, what you've got is like THC is an agonist at the CB1 receptor, and what that means is that it activates the CB1 receptor, turns it on.
Okay.
Okay, antagonists turn it off.
Got it.
Okay, and so that's kind of the difference between antagonists and agonists. And like THC turns that receptor on, which produces the munchies.
Mm-hmm.
THCV turns the receptor off
Mm-hmm.
and inhibits appetite.
Got it.
So it kind of, THCV does that, and so it kind of they do opposites,
Mm-hmm.
agonists and antagonists.
Got
And
it.
it's all about, and that's kind of what molecular science is all about, or molecular biology is all about.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with the endocannabinoid system. And you get antagonists, you get partial antagonists, you get inverse agonists, and all this terminology. And that's the thing about science is they keep throwing all this damn terminology, and so much of it is just having to decipher because people in different countries use different terminology, and
Mm-hmm.
you have to decipher what they actually have meant and what it means to you and how it all fits into your research,
Yeah.
and it gets bizarre. I mean, the terminology starts to get really, really strange, especially in this area.
Mm-hmm. So, which country do you think, um, outside of the U.S., because I know that we're kind of far behind in a lot of this, what country are you seeing a lot of really good quality studies coming out of?
I think the main, and this kind of cliche, the main country is right now is still Israel.
Mm-hmm.
Israel is doing, of course, they had a big head start.
Yeah, I mean, Ravi Mechoulam was right there. So,
Yeah, he was the man,
yeah.
and
Who's
but
coming up second?
second is probably I always give second place to England,
Nice.
and and that may not be right. I mean, I've seen some studies come out of Italy.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, there are countries all over the world, and you have to understand, this is not a horse race.
Right.
science is not a horse race,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody wants to make it. Oh, who's in first place? Right
Mm-hmm.
now, what all we've got really going on is we're trailing. Our jockey is on the horse, and kind of telling the people in the stands that the United States wins in everything.
Exactly.
Okay? And that's kind of the way we are in this race.
Yeah.
But we've got some amazing scientists
Mm-hmm.
here in the United States. We've got Dr. Rousseau,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean we've got people throughout the United States that are doing some incredible work.
Are we duplicating any studies that have already been done in other countries to kind of like reinforce it, or?
Well, yeah, in science you always replicate studies.
Uh-huh.
It's just part of what you have to do as scientists. You replicate what
Mm-hmm.
others have done to ensure that what they've done has been done properly,
Mm-hmm.
and that the results are
That it wasn't a fluke.
repeatable. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you do that. You replicate in science a lot of times, and that's just a function of science, because you have to basically prove and reprove everything.
Mm-hmm. Well, good. I mean,
Um,
I don't want someone coming up with some,
Right,
quote
yeah, you
unquote
don't want
cure
them
and then
to,
find out it was a fluke. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you don't want a fluke, and that does, it's, but you're seeing a lot of things going on here in the United States, and really all over the world. I mean, there's a study out of Iran that I was looking at the
Mhm.
other day. I mean, I've only seen the abstract to it, because the study is in Persian.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think it's
Yeah,
English.
and-
So.
And so far, I haven't been able to find anybody that's able to translate Persian for me.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay, so
Well,
anyone out there that can translate Persian or Farsi or whatever it is, please reach out. Just contact CBD Talk Podcast. Go to the website. Send us a message. We'll hook you up with David, and maybe you can help him read the study.
Yeah, it would be good to because this is a study that I'm real interested in. It has to do with extracting endocannabinoids from using hair samples to extract endocannabinoids.
Oh wow, nice.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm doing now as well.
What's the legal status? Do you know what the legal status of cannabinoids are in Iran? I mean, is it like death
I
penalty
don't know.
illegal, or?
Iranian law is not something that I'm really versed in.
Yeah, because I'm just curious. It's like, are they doing that so that they can take that hair strand and decide whether to execute you or not because you were using?
Yeah, see, like I say, I'm not an Iranian legal scholar.
Yeah,
with American law.
Yeah, that could be kind of scary why they're doing that. But yeah, that'd be interesting. Well, that's really interesting to. I love that we've got all these countries that are producing good information, and so that we can.
Yeah, that's the beautiful thing about science is everybody is doing something.
Yeah.
And you can say, okay, well, what this person is doing, that's interesting to what I'm interested in. And so like I say, what I'm doing is I'm starting to look at studies from all over the world, saying, well, I can see where that could fit into what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And of course, right now my focus has been, lately my focus has been diabetes.
Which is going to help a lot of people.
And it just happened. Oh yeah. Well, diabetes is going to be here in the United States. It's going to be a $500 billion healthcare hit by the year 2020.
Yeah. Now you just got to find plants that have a lot of THCV in them.
Yeah. And we've got those.
Oh, good. Good.
And I think the last time I was on, I put out a request for, anybody who knew about particular strain, but I've now got that under control, and I've got the access to the molecules that I need now.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. Yeah, I can imagine how. I mean, we've kind of messed with the plant for the last couple decades, amping up that THC and stripping everything else down. So, but I'm just curious. I mean, like, are you finding that other countries have not manipulated the plant as much as we have, or did everyone pretty much do that?
For the most part, it's kind of a function of prohibition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we as the United States back in the 70s, early 70s, we were able to bully a lot of countries into doing things our way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now we don't have as much
Mm-hmm.
authority as we used to have over, dominating the world.
Yeah.
And so, and that realistically, that's a good thing, because we were just jerks
Mm-hmm.
about so many things.
Yeah. Bullies. Yeah.
And and so now we're kind of being we have to be a little more cooperative, and from a scientific standpoint that works well, because scientists cooperate with each other.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We share information.
Yeah. So are you seeing, like, with the studies that other people are doing in other countries, I mean, just from seeing what they're doing, can you tell that they have different strains or different cannabinoid profiles, or?
Well, for the most part, pretty much everybody is working with this. Of course, everybody's working with the same molecules.
Mm-hmm. So it's not like there's a different molecule in the Middle East that we don't have here.
No, it's not really different molecules. It may be different strains. And of course, strains are different in Afghanistan than they would be here.
But the molecules are the same.
Yeah, the molecules are the same.
Okay.
And now the percentages of molecules might be different in another country.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, that's we're talking phytocannabinoids now.
Right.
Now, my interest has always been in the endocannabinoids.
The endocannabinoids. Oh, that's right. Yeah, and so that doesn't change.
Between individuals in, say, Uruguay, as you might see, as in the United States, the endocannabinoids are pretty much basically the same.
Yeah.
The percentages.
One of the things that I had heard when I was a moderator at the Pet Expo was that dogs have a higher concentration of CB1 receptors in their brains,
Yes.
which is why they react so
Negatively to THC. Right. Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, dogs don't have as many CB1 receptors.
Or they have too many CB1 receptors. I thought it was they have more.
No, they have less CB1 receptors than we do. So
okay.
What happens is THC overwhelms.
Oh, got it. Okay. Are there other? Are they the only, like, special animal that they've found that out, or are there other things like that?
Yeah, well, see, pigs are more closely related to humans.
Oh, okay.
And different animals have different, endocannabinoid systems. And basically, and this is something that everybody should remember, just if you've got edibles, don't leave them lying around for your pets to get.
Yeah.
And that's because that can be real, real bad.
Yeah, that could be just really, really bad.
Yeah, that can become really problematic, and a vet will likely turn you in for something like that.
And so, with pigs being close to us, do you see?
The endocannabinoid system.
Yeah, on the endocannabinoid system, are you seeing a lot of studies being done on pigs then?
No, not much. I do know of a few, and I'd like to, but that's an expensive process.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And I mean, for the most part, what's going on is typical. You use mice, and that sort of thing,
because they're affordable.
Yeah, and they're affordable, and they're easy to house. Pigs are a little more difficult to house.
Yeah, they're kind of big.
And, but yeah, pigs would be a good one. what there's a variety of approaches. Those are called in vivo studies.
Mm-hmm.
Studies with animals, and yeah, pigs would be a good one. I'd love to do something, working with pigs, but I wouldn't really want to be involved. I'd want to have my lab assistant. Okay, go deal with the pigs.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it.
Well, that's why you have assistants.
That's why God made other people. It's what
Exactly. So anything happening or anything that you see coming up on the horizon, new things that are exciting for you?
Well, it's new things. That's a really good question. You never know what's going to come up new.
How many cannabinoids are we up to now?
Okay, I know of 16.
Okay.
16 endocannabinoids.
That's endocannabinoids. Okay. Yeah. How about phyto?
Endocannabinoids, 113 phytocannabinoids.
Oh, geez. So 16 endocannabinoids. Wow.
Right. Yeah, 16 endocannabinoids I know of.
And 113 phytocannabinoids.
Yeah, and so it's really, really difficult to determine these endocannabinoid, phytocannabinoid equivalents. And that's why I've started to focus on the anomalies as I'm looking at the ones that are the antagonists. Because they're the anomalies. And in science, it's always the anomalies that end up being important. So I'm looking at verotamine, I'm looking at sprigazine. And those are the two cannabinoids that I'm really focused on right now.
And they're both antagonists?
But they're not both antagonists at CB1.
Oh, okay.
One is as an antagonist at the GP receptors and the TPRV receptors. And so you've got all these different receptors too. And so it all gets a little bizarre because you're looking at what it's doing on 16, 17 different receptors.
Yeah.
The GP receptor, GP55 receptors, the immune receptors, you've got the TPRV receptors, TPRV1, TPRV,
You are so over my head right now.
I know, it's out of control. And it's like, for me, I mean, it becomes overwhelming for me. And I kind of, I understand enough to know what I don't understand. And that's kind of what, that's where I am is I know enough to know what I don't know. And I know enough to say, well, I don't know, but I know how to find out.
Exactly.
And that's something that, as a PhD student, that's what I'm trained to do.
So tell us a little bit about spectral analytics.
Okay, well, what spectral analytics does is the basic research. We have the people behind us that say, okay, you're gonna produce something down the road for us, a formulation that treats diabetes, say. And so what we'll do in exchange for you, you will provide us the formulations that save the world.
Yeah.
We'll get some monetary gain out of that. And then that monetary gain will give you your cut. We'll take our cut for funding your research. And then 30% of all the profits will go back into future research.
Oh, that's amazing.
So that's their business model. That's how they do things.
That's
so that's the situation that I stumbled into.
And thank God you did.
This is what this gets the research done.
Yeah.
And that's so hard for a scientist to do. To get the money to fund basic research.
Because everyone wants a return now.
Well, you have to understand, for a scientist should be doing science, right? It's like a concert musician should be practicing.
Yeah.
And doing concerts and that sort of thing. Now, concert musicians should not have to go out and look for a venue to play.
Yeah.
No, that's not their role. Their role is to do the,
It's to perform.
to perform, right.
Hmm.
And a scientist should be doing the science. The scientist should not have to go out and looking for money,
Right.
right? So that's what this company that is sponsoring, that oversees spectral analytics.
Hmm.
That's what they do, is they fund the scientists.
That's amazing. That is absolutely
They
amazing.
fund they back the science, basic science, and you can't get anything done. You're not going to get formulations without the basic science.
Well, the thing is if you do, they're crap.
Yes, yes, and the FDA is going to turn their nose up at it,
Yeah, for sure.
and
As they should, because if you
yeah,
don't have the science
yeah.
behind it, why? Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you've got to have the science to back it up. But doing the science is expensive. I mean, I've got a biochemist that we're dealing with, that, she needs to get paid.
Hmm.
And so,
And you got to pay for the lab, and you got to
yeah,
pay
we've
for the
gotta pay
mice.
for the
And
lab. We've
yeah,
got equipment
yeah.
that we're talking about. We're talking $100,000 worth of technology,
Hmm. Yeah.
and so you've got to have the backing as a scientist, or you're going nowhere,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm just grateful that there are people out there that are doing it.
Yeah,
So.
and the thing is, these people are gonna get rewarded at the end. They're
As
gonna,
they should.
yeah, of course they should,
Yeah.
because they made the investment.
They took the
They
risk.
put money in. They took the risk
Hmm.
and said, okay, yeah, we think what that your science is going to lead to technology, or
A product at the end.
a product at the end that we can market.
Uh-huh.
Um, and my role, I want to do the science. That I'm not interested in the money at the end. That's fine. All I'm interested in, for me, is I'm just looking for stability. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying?
And for you to be able to do
Right,
your
to
research.
do the research.
Yeah. It feeds you. The research feeds your brain and your soul.
That's it. And so that's kind of where we're at right now with spectral analytics.
I'm excited. I'm so excited. So you think you're going to have answers in May?
Well, I'll have a few answers in May. Because we should be able to get that study completed by then.
Uh-huh. That's beautiful.
And that's just a matter, because we've got the lab, and we've got everything, all the categorical variables we need,
Yeah.
which is the THCV, the PA, the CBD. Of course, everybody and their brother has CBD
Oh
now.
God, yeah. Yeah.
And,
Well, I have to say that, we're excited because you're going to be closer.
oh yeah, I should be out moving to into the Colorado area.
Yeah. So where Colorado is ready to welcome you.
Oh,
So when you
that's
get
good.
here.
It'll be good to be welcomed somewhere.
So here's another thing. Now this episode will post this week, and this weekend is 420.
Mm.
So it's kind of a a holiday for a lot of people. So do you have any 420 plans?
Oh, I'm sure I'll be celebrating it in some way, shape, or form.
Yes, I'm sure everyone will somehow. So, okay, so let's just circle back. And is there anything that you want to talk about? To just give some more education out here tonight.
Let's see. I'm trying. That's a really good question. I don't know where to go with that.
It can be even something very simple for our new listeners.
Oh, well, there is some let's see, there is about you get all this stuff about psychoactivity, right?
Yeah.
That psychoactivity is bad, and THC is bad because it's psychoactive.
Mm-hmm.
CBD is good because they're claiming CBD is non-psychoactive, right?
Right.
Okay, here's now what is psychoactive? What's the definition? Let me read you the definition.
Okay.
Psychoactive substances are substances that when taken or administered into one system affect mental processes like cognition or having a mental effect.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. CBD. Here's what CBD does. Okay. Well, it's non-intoxicating.
Mm-hmm.
You've got THC, which is which they claim is which they say, okay, it's psychoactive.
Mm-hmm.
And what it does that is psychoactive is that it produces dopamine.
Mm-hmm.
Dopamine is essentially the pleasure molecule.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. CBD produces serotonin.
Mm-hmm.
Serotonin is the happiness molecule.
Okay.
Happiness and pleasure are two different things.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Happiness is a long-term thing. It's contentment.
Mm-hmm.
Happiness is contentment.
Mm-hmm.
And pleasure is short-lived, short-term. And so many things produce dopamine. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Like shopping. Shopping produces dopamine. You get that elusive like on Facebook, produces dopamine.
Right now, my Instant Pot is creating a lot of dopamine. I've become an Instant Pot addict. I'm making yogurt. I'm making jellies.
Food, a lot of things produce dopamine.
Mm-hmm.
Jogging. Remember back during the jogging craze?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
They would say, oh yeah, it gives me this pleasure.
Oh, the runner's high.
Right, the runner's high.
Uh-huh.
It's because it produced dopamine.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, gambling produces dopamine.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
Like I say, shopping, video games.
Uh-huh.
Computer video games. They're designed to produce dopamine.
Mm-hmm.
And anything that produces dopamine in large amounts can become addictive.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you can end up becoming
psychologically addicted, not physically addicted.
Right?
Okay.
Yeah, you can end up being psychologically addicted
Mm-hmm.
to THC. Psychologically addicted.
Yeah, not physically.
Anything that produces pleasure,
Mm-hmm.
you want more of.
Yeah.
You want more pleasure, right? Well, you can't have too much happiness.
Right.
Okay, so CBD is really good because it produces serotonin.
Mm-hmm. But that means if it's producing serotonin, then it's psychoactive.
Yes, yeah, and that's the thing that you've got all of these people that say, hey, our stuff our CBD, it doesn't have THC in it, so it's non-psychoactive.
Mm-hmm.
To me, what they're saying is well, our product doesn't do anything.
Oh yeah, you're right, because
Okay,
it's just it works on the brain. It's
they're using a misnomer. Their
Right.
definition of psychoactive is wrong.
right. They should be saying non-intoxicating.
Right. Yeah. Well. Yeah. There's non-intoxicating.
What are some other ways they could say that?
Right. Yeah. See, but it's hard to come up with those other ways.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're getting to the point of definitions.
Mm-hmm.
So much of science is defining your variables. What
you mean by psychoactive.
What do you mean by psychoactive?
Mm-hmm. And I know at the beginning I was saying that too.
Actually has a patent on a form of CBD that's non-psychoactive. Okay, and it's and so basically what they've done. Now I published an article about that, and they're saying, well, they've got that well, the number, the patent number
644-507 or something like that. Yeah.
Something like that. I don't remember the actual number, but it's for like for me when I suffered my stroke caused by the pharmaceutical medicines.
Yeah.
When I suffered my stroke, um, basically they said, okay, you're going to die. That's it. You're done.
Hmm.
Now, I use phytocannabinoids to, CBD
Mm-hmm.
to mitigate the effects of the stroke.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and basically, the government has a patent on using phytocannabinoids for that purpose.
Really?
For that purpose. Okay, so basically, I probably owe them some money. Um, but they haven't come after me for it yet.
Now, when you had your stroke, did you use just CBD or did you use THC as well?
No, I use both.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I used regular because I went through. Of course, I didn't know anything. I knew a little bit.
Like the concept.
Yeah, I knew the concept that
Uh-huh.
medical cannabis worked for certain things.
Mm-hmm.
That it worked for muscular dystrophy.
Mm-hmm.
And the interesting thing is, the United States government knew this stuff back in the 70s.
Yeah.
They knew that it had medicinal properties clear back then, and they repressed that knowledge.
Mm-hmm. Well,
And
it wasn't in their political interest.
right, and they forced me to become an opiate addict.
Yeah. Oh,
Because
how many people? How many millions of people have they fucking done that
it's
to? Come on.
4.2 million people. Right
Yeah.
now, the CDC is saying 4.2 million people
Yeah.
have these bureaucratically mandated opiate addictions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. And that's a huge number that the United States is forced to become
Mm-hmm.
addicted to opiates.
Yeah.
And they're saying, oh, there's an opiate crisis. And when it gets down to it, they're the ones that caused it.
Exactly. Yeah, there is. Gee, wonder why. Oh, God. People.
Right. So this is where we're at, and that's and like and it's all that, and I don't know, I'm going off on
Oh, I do that. Yeah. So we were talking about how the misnomer of people saying that CBD is non-psychoactive, and it is psychoactive, and that's why it works. It's just not
that's why it
intoxicating.
works. If it wasn't psychoactive, it wouldn't work. It wouldn't
Yeah.
be as effective.
Yeah. Yeah, because and and I think about all the people that are helped tremendously, especially with like anxiety and stuff like that. CBD works so well with that. And yeah, so if it wasn't psychoactive, it wouldn't be helping anxiety.
There you go.
Or the others.
And it wouldn't. I mean, it wouldn't help. All these other things. It wouldn't help with opiate addictions.
Yeah.
Yeah. The reason it helps with opiate addictions is it's because it releases serotonin. It releases that contentment molecule.
Yeah. So opiates then bind to CB2 or CB1?
Opiates. Boy, I do not know the answer to that.
Okay, I was just curious, but it's got to bind to one of those receptors.
Not necessarily.
Oh, okay.
Because it's not like an endocannabinoid where what it does is rather than attacking the endocannabinoid system, it attacks the endocrine system.
Oh, okay.
That's two different things. The endocrine system is controlled by the endocannabinoid system.
Oh, okay. So by boosting the endocannabinoid system, you can help regulate the endocrine system.
Yeah, and so basically it helps with opiate addiction because it it treats inflammatory pain and it helps with withdrawal symptoms.
Yeah.
And it
gives you the happiness,
the contentment that people are searching for. Now it's not a catch-all where all you need is CBD.
Mm-hmm.
What you need if you're gonna be successful in treating addictions, you've got to have a social network.
Yeah.
That works. That works with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that is also another key to the whole thing. But you need to get past that where the pain of withdrawal.
Mm-hmm.
and it's it's addiction is a complicated thing.
Oh yeah, I have family members and ex family members that have dived deep into that.
Right,
So yeah, hence the X. So yeah, it is a complicated thing, and unfortunately, a huge amount of our population is dealing with it, and that's another reason why I get so excited when it comes to the endocannabinoid research, because I know that that's something that can help potentially.
Yeah, it's the next frontier of medicine,
Yeah.
without a doubt.
So one of the things that I want to mention tonight is that, Dave, if you have not seen or listened to episode 57 with our own David Dawson here, that is our second highest episode ever on the For CBD Talk podcast. The highest one is actually episode number 1, and that makes sense because that's the first one, you know. But other than that, David's is the second highest. But the funniest thing, so I was looking at the stats, and we're at 123,000 or so now. So the top countries made sense: the U.S., Canada, and the U.K. But the top city in the last month that's listened, and this is just the last 30 days, is Richardson, Texas.
Texas is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's likely that they're going to go medical soon.
I hope so. So thank you,
Oh yeah, they
Richardson,
need it.
Texas.
Yeah,
Yeah, everybody needs it, but Texas, yeah.
yeah, Texas needs it.
Yeah,
South
that's
Dakota is an interesting state too, because they've got the highest opiate addiction rate, pretty much.
oh, really?
Yeah, they
interesting.
really like their opiates in South Dakota.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. So that's great. But I just wanted to give a shout out to Richardson, Texas for the last 30 days. You guys have been our highest listeners, so thanks for that. And now I have to go find a map and see where Richardson, Texas is.
Okay.
All right. So we're going to give David a break for a little while because he's going to be moving to Colorado. And so we're not going to bug him until he gets here, and we'll give him a little time to get everything into gear, and then we'll bug him again and get another episode.
I'm looking forward to seeing you when I move.
I am too. Once you get here, I will schedule some time off from work a day off from work so I can drive my rear end down there and
Together and play.
yes, that'll be fun. So, okay, everybody. Thank you again for joining us. I hope you got a lot of amazing information from David. I am going to be listening to this one multiple times, taking lots of notes and trying to figure out. Actually, he does make things very easy, so I appreciate that. So, all right, everybody, stay happy, stay healthy, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.